I wish to apologize for being a racist. I'll try and mend my ways, but I can tell you it's not a conscious thing about me to be a racist. So I apologize. And the gentleman in front of me, if you believe that I, as a judge, I'm so useless, dumb, baluka, woeful, etc., and you think you can't get a fair trial from me, please tell me. I'll recuse myself. I don't want to impose myself on people who doubt my integrity, honor, and dignity. And I mean it. If you think this judge, the way he's a racist, the way he doesn't care for the Constitution, is not fit to be our judge, please tell me. Hey, Tada, we are back with another video. The page, it is called South African Late News. The case will resume on the 13th of October 2025. But today I would like to take you back on where the case started or what caused the case to start, meaning that I'll briefly summarize the case in total. Remember that what I'm about to tell you is mostly the version of the state or Baloyi, so it is not the gospel truth because the accused have not opened their case. But the 5 men before court will soon tell us their story because the state is lying, and I have to put in that disclaimer. The story begins on the 26th of October 2014, and I was just minding my own business on Twitter. Then, boom, I saw a Twitter saying, Senzo has been shot and unalived, and I couldn't believe it. I thought it was one of those sick jokes that are on social media, but I was wrong. I checked the news, and it is confirmed that Mr. Meyiwa has lost his life after he was transported to the hospital. It was a sad day. The whole country couldn't believe it that Senzo was no more. The Bafana Bafana captain had played one of his best games earlier on, and then this happens. It was a shock. Then later on that day, on the 26th of October 2014, it becomes evident that Senzo Meyiwa was shot while visiting his then girlfriend Kelly Khumalo. In the house on that day, there was Senzo Meyiwa, Kelly Khumalo, Zandi Khumalo, and their mother Ntombi Khumalo. Then there was also Longo Twala, there was Msozi Twala, there was Tumila Madlala, and then Kelly's sons, or Kelly's son, I think his name is Christian, and then Senzo's daughter, Tingo. Then we move on to the 28th of October 2014. The police released an identikit of 2 men believed to be behind the shooting of Senzo Meyiwa. Then a reward of 250,000 is offered for any information that could lead to an arrest and a conviction of the intruders. We later find out by the name of a person called Taba Makeleni, who was sitting outside the Kumala house. In his statement, he said he saw 2 men running out of the house. He claims that one of them had a gold tooth, yet it was very dark. So Taba Makeleni had a hawk eyes where he could see such things at night. And I can tell you for free, that statement by Makeleni is a fabrication by the state. But we move on a sequel up. Then we move on to the 31st of October 2014. The police arrest the resident of Vosloorus by the name of Zamaguhle Mbatha in connection with the shooting of Meyiwa. Mbatha is known to the Khumalo family. That is very important information. He is later released due to the fact that there is no evidence against him. It later emerges that Mbatha used to wash Senzo's car, and now, as of today, he is now suing the state for unlawful arrest and detention. At a sequel up, we move on to the 1st of November 2024, 2014, July 24. Meyiwa is buried in a government-funded official funeral at Moses Mabhida Stadium. Then thousands of people came out to bid farewell to Senzo Meyiwa. And then the Premier of KZN at the time was Senzo Mchunu. He promises that he'll make a statue of Senzo Meyiwa. But till today, there is no statue, which means that Senzo Mchunu lied on the day. So lying kamchunu akuqali manje into akade yaqala umchunu ukuthi akhulume into engesiyona, but asikho lapho. Umchunu is having his own problem now, so asimyeke. The Madlanga Commission will deal with him for his other issues. Then on the 11th of November 2014, Zama Thembata make his first appearance at the Boksburg Magistrates Court, where charges against him are officially withdrawn. Despite dropping charges against Mbata, police officers return on the day seeking the PIN code of his phone. And Mbata wabanikeza qhubeka asikho lapho kwamanje. And according to Gininda, in November 2014, a traditional healer by the name of Lawan Zwane was approached by one of the accused for traditional medicine to assist them because they had done the job. He said these men approached him and they were very serious. He said the first man to come was Sibiya, meaning that it was Moon Sibiya. He described him as tall, but he could not identify him in court. That is very important. Babuzwane could not identify Usbiya in court, meaning that Babuzwane could be lying. That's something that you must think about. Because if umuntu afika kuwena ngeke umkhohlwa umuntu umbona kanye, then the rest is history. And I can tell you for free ukuthi Babuzwane is not telling the truth, but asikho lapho. Fast forward to February 2015, according to Gininda, accused number 3, Mthomse Mncube, is arrested by Cleveland police in connection with the shooting of Alexandra taxi boss, Mr. Reggie Mohlala. At the time of the arrest, the dots are yet to be connected with the Mayor case. That is according to Gininda. Mncube's firearm is believed to be the same one that was used in the shooting of Mayor. So it means that the gun that shot Reggie Mohlala is the same gun that shot Senzo Mayor. That is according to the state or to their witness, Chris Mangena. But now we know that the witnesses that were in the house said the gun that was used to shoot Senzo was a revolver because it had a wheel. So it's not the 9mm that was examined by Mangena, but asikho lapho. Ngoba sesiyazi ukuthi lento le it's cooked. So Senzo Mayor was not shot by Mncube's gun because it was a revolver. But we fast forward to March 2019, Zama Mbatha sues the police minister and the NPA for 17 million because of the illegal arrest. I hope he wins because he was arrested for nothing. So I hope he gets millions and the state will learn to not arrest innocent people. But asikho lapho. Then we fast forward to July 2019. After 5 years of seeking justice for the shooting of Mayiwa, Mr. Sam Mayiwa sadly dies at his home in Mlazi. He had been sick for months after suffering stroke in August 2018. The stroke, his family said, was partly brought by the stress of the Mayiwa case. May his soul rest in peace. Then we fast forward to November 6, 2019. AfriForum Chief Executive Khalid Kriel briefed the media with regards to the Mayor case. He announces that they have appointed Kharonel as a family advocate in the investigation of the Mayor case. AfriForum leyo. Fast forward to the 30th of May 2020. Accused number 1, Musibiya, is arrested in Tembisa and he is kept in custody at Valeria Police Station in Pretoria. Fast forward to June 2020, accused number 1, Musibiya, makes a confession and a pointing out statement before Justice of the Peace, Lieutenant Colonel James Hadebe at Albertine Police Station. But Musibiya claims that he was tortured, and I believe him. I've told you in the past that Sibiya was tortured because that confession was signed in the early hours of the morning, meaning that he was being abused the whole night By the time he signed that confession, he was weak. He only signed it because he wanted to save his own life. And I can tell you for free that Musbia never confessed. He only signed that confession to save his life because he was being beaten up at the Golden Spot. You remember that during the inspection in Loco, he showed us how he was abused by the police. So that is something that you must remember. Sibia never confessed. He was beaten. Then fast forward to June 16, 2020. Accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, is arrested in Rustenburg. He is detained at the Pretoria North Police Station. Remember that was 2020. That's when Ntanzi was arrested. And it is very important to note that Ntanzi had no criminal record prior to this arrest. That is very, very important. Ntanzi had no criminal record. But fast forward to July 19th, so 3 days later in 2020, accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi, makes a confession. And that confession was before police officer Mohale Rapado at Moroka police station. And Ntanzi also, he says he was abused. He never made that confession. And I believe him. Ntanzi never confessed. Then Mjiako was brought in by the state to confuse Ntanzi in order to get the confession. Ntanzi never appointed Mjiako, but the state used Mjiako to get that fake confession. That is something that you need to know. Then fast forward to 24th of June 2020. Accused number 2, Bongani Ntanzi makes another fake confession. That is before Magistrate Vivian Cronje at Boksburg Magistrate Court. Then Magistrate Cronje makes an audio recording of the proceeding without informing Ntanzi of his rights. And Mjiako is in that meeting, but he kept quiet. He didn't say anything. That's something that you should remember. Mjiako was there. He put Ntanzi under the bus because he was never appointed by Ntanzi. He was just there to spy for the state. But asikho-ke lapho. We fast forward to October 20th, 2020. News 24 reports that the gun which was positively linked to the shooting of Meyiwa has been found in Cleveland police station, and it's also been used to shoot at a taxi boss that I've said earlier, Mr. Reggie Mohlala. According to News 24, the suspect was reportedly convicted of shooting a taxi boss, and he was sentenced to 30 years. This suspect later turns out to be accused number 3, Mthobise Mncube, aka Ugadla. Then fast forward to 26th of October 2020. The then police minister Beyicela announces that 5 suspects have been arrested in connection with the shooting of Senzo Meyiwa. Cele says the arrests were made between Gauteng and KZN. The 5 men later on appears at the Boksburg Magistrate Court, where the case was postponed. Then you fast forward to the 27th of October 2020. A document sent to the media by the NPA, puts Singakele Khumalo as the mastermind in the Meyiwa case. The document was released to the media alongside the charge sheet for the 5 men. The document shows that Colonel Ugininda was requesting statements or affidavits relating to how the police obtained the confessions from the 2 people. So that leak was just a mistake by the NPA. We were not supposed to say it, but we saw it back then because the NPA is negligent. But the document also requests a cell phone communication between accused number 5 and Kelly Khumalo. So that is Kelly Khumalo and accused number 5, of which is Fiso Uhlantuli. That's contained in that leaked paper. Pertaining to Kelly Kumalo, the document requests that the singer's cell phone records be obtained. The document also calls on more information about the particular of a loan that may have been used to fund the shooting of Mayo. So in that document they are alleging that Kelly Kumalo took out a loan in order to pay the hitman that was used to unalive Senzo Mayo. That's on the document. But then the NPA at the time said the document had been released to the media by mistake, but Mrs. Bonnie. So we knew what was the thought process of the state back then. It was to link Kelly Kumalo to this case because they wanted to blame someone. They did not want to charge Longotwala. So they used Kelly Kumalo. Then we fast forward to March 17, 2022. Four accused, namely Sibiya, Ntanzi, Mnube, and Mapisa, appears at the Pretoria Magistrates Court, where they inform Judge Maumela that they have dropped their lawyers and they have appointed Advocate Tefo Odu. Tefo also tells the court that he wants the case to be reopened to all the people that were in the house, and he demanded that they must be charged with perjury because they lied under oath. That is Advocate Tefo. That's when he arrived. Then we fast forward to April the 11th, 2022. The case gets off a shaky start after Judge Maumela rolls over the case for the following day because Advocate Mshelolo needed more time to consult with her client, Mr. Ntuli. Mshelolo had complained that she had not been given enough time to consult with her client in prison. Kade kwabanzima. Mshelolo bemvimbe bengafuni akhulume neclient lakhe on time, but asikho-ke lapho. Still in April 2022, Advocate Hernel says that he's convinced that the police have got the right people before court, but he says more people could have been arrested. So from that statement, it was clear that Hernel was referring to Kelly Kumalo. Hernel believed that the mastermind should have been charged alongside the 5 men that were before court. That is Hernel. But asikho lapho. Then we fast forward to May 2022. One of the police officers in the Mayor case by the name of Brigadier Ndlovu is poisoned and he dies. He was one of the first senior police officers on the crime scene. He dies. Until today, nobody has been arrested for his death. Few months later on, Ndlovu's wife also dies. She was shot while coming back from the mall, meaning that Ndlovu was poisoned. Then the wife was shot. It shows that both of them knew something that was very secretive and dangerous, so they had to be eliminated. The question is, who unalived both of them? Did the state had anything to do with their death? You'll be the judge. I'm sure you know the answer to that. But asikho ke lapho. Let's proceed. Then Thabang Makeleni and Simphiwe Ngwenya, the two men who helped the police to construct the identity kit, also die. What is strange is that Thabang Makeleni was also poisoned the same way Ndlovu dies. Then Ngwenya was shot, so Ngwenya died differently. But the death of Makeleni is similar to the death of Brigadier Ndlovu. So this tells me that the killer of Ndlovu and the killer of Makeleni is the same person. Why two people that are involved in the Mayor case dies in few months apart and then dies in a similar fashion? Clearly, they were killed by one person. But But one thing I have to say, till today, nobody has been arrested for the death of Thabo Makeleni, Brigadier Ndlovu, and that's Ngwenya Guy. So justice, it only works for the rich, but if you are not connected or rich, you will suffer. Nobody will care about you. But those three deaths has never been resolved till today. It is sad, but a reality in this country. But then you fast forward to September 2022, the Legal Practice Council, aka LPC, has Advocate Defo struck off the roll following complaints about his behavior in court and so on. Therefore, he's accused of stealing clients' money and other stuff, and therefore could no longer practice as a lawyer. Some part of the adverse findings is that therefore was dishonest and he lacked integrity. That is according to the LPC. I do not agree with the LPC because therefore targeted because he raised questions about Docket 75. That is the reason why everyone went after Advocate Therefore. It's because they wanted to silence him. They could see that Therefore was on a right path to catching the real shooters of Senzomeyu. That is why they went after him. But asikho-ke lapho. We move on to April 2023. Very interesting now. The judge in the Mayor trial, Judge Maumela, is amongst the number of judges that faces suspension over delayed judgment. So Judge Maumela, he had cases that had no judgment for over a year. So it shows that Judge Maumela was incompetent because you cannot have a judgment outstanding for more than 3 months. If you do so, it means you shouldn't be a judge because you are incompetent. But asikho-ke lapho. Later on, Judge Maumela is removed from the Mayor case because of his illness as well as this suspension by the president. Then the Mayor case has to start de novo, meaning that the case had to start afresh under a new judge, meaning that a time was wasted under Judge Maumela. Fast forward to the 18th of July 2023. Retired Judge Rata Makgotleng was appointed to preside over the Muir trial. He took over from Maumela after that illness of Maumela. Initially, I thought Judge Rata was a good judge because on the first day he spoke very well. He said people must come in quite early, they must behave properly and so on. So I thought this judge, okay, he might be a good judge. How wrong I was. Ooh, I was 100% wrong. Then fast forward to mid July 2023. Ntanzi and Sibia claim that the torture at the hands of the police was done more than once. Sibia says the police drove him to KZN where they allowed him to see his family at the back of the van. So amaphoyisa athatha Sibia aya kubo, but his family could only speak to him when he was at the back of the van. So he was being treated like an animal. See, that supports the claim that he made of being tortured, the way they treated him. But asikho-ke lapho. Then we move on to the 27th of July 2023. Colonel Steyn, who is a cell phone expert or cell phone analyst, tells the court that a call record showed that Kelly Kumalo had been in contact by phone with one of the men accused, mainly accused number 5. Steyn says he's the analyst of the SAPS cold case unit. He said Kelly Kumalo was in contact with accused number 5 on 2 occasions between August and October 2014. However, Steyn fails to tell the court how was that call made. Was that a WhatsApp call? Was it a BlackBerry call? Was it a Facebook Messenger? But Steyn could not tell the court. He said, "My lord, I am not sure." What type of an expert is that? Steyn he failed state because he could not explain how the information was collected. We now know that for the fact that Steyn he received the Section 205 from Vodacom in a PDF format, but Steyn converted it into Excel. Why did he do that? It is alleged that he did that because they wanted to insert that fake communication call between Kelly Kumalo and accused number 5. And I believe those people. Why did Steyn change the format from PDF to Excel? Because now, if you change or edit, it means the exhibit has been contaminated. He has changed the exhibit. So Steyn was wrong there, which is why Rata should not accept those telephone records because they were tampered with. They changed the format of the call record from Vodacom from PDF to Excel, which is highly irregular. So the state there was cooking. They were fabricating evidence. You can quote me on that. But we move on to the August of 2023. The court hears how the people in the house never called the police after Senzo was shot. Okhele Khumalo, ozali noma wakhe, wadlula uSenzo Khumalo but ukubiza ambulance lutho. Senzo was left there to die a slow and painful death. Had they called ambulance, maybe Senzo Mia would be alive today. Who knows? Khele Khumalo, in fact, he phoned Chico Twala instead of the ambulance. Why would Khele Khumalo phone Chico Twala? This means that the likes of Khele Khumalo and Tuna Madlala and others were complicit in the death of Senzo because they did not seek the relevant assistance. Such cruel people that we live in, that we live amongst in this world. But asikho lapho. The police were only alerted by the neighbors. Then they arrived at the Kumar household, but the police arrived at the crime scene, but they did not secure it. How incompetent. One of the police officers admits that they left the crime scene and went to the hospital. That is Mtetwa and his partner. Instead of putting that yellow tape around the house and stop everyone from coming in, they did not do it. They left the crime scene unattended, meaning that the crime scene was tampered. So the evidence in the crime scene now could no longer be relied upon because the crime scene was tampered. Sad reality. And also Judge Aracha criticized the police for the way they handled the crime scene. But as October 2023, according to the DNA expert that came before court, he tells the court that the DNA sample that was taken from the house did not match to any of the accused, meaning that the accused were not at the crime scene when Senzo was shot. That is a fact that cannot be denied because the DNA tells us. But then a trial within a trial to determine if the confessions were taken lawfully begins. That is in October 2023. Then later on, the judge Rata, the judge, Mr. Rata Mkhwateng, makes a big mistake when he provisionally accepts those confessions, ignoring the facts that were stated by Ntanzi and Sibiya. To me, it is clear that Ntanzi and Sibiya were tortured. As I've said earlier, Sibiya was driven around the whole night and then he was beaten up, which is why he confessed in the early hours of the morning. Then Ntanzi had to make two confessions because the first confessions they forgot to put in some lies, so they had to do a second confession to cover their bases. So for Rata, he should have seen, Uti, there's something dodgy about these confessions. But as a judge, he made a mistake. He accepted those fake confessions. Then after the trial, within the trial, Ubaloyi brings ama-witnesses are useless. Uletha ama-witnesses are useless. The likes of Longotwala are never brought before court. Why? Yindaba loyi. Why Gwabini was not called? Why Longotwala was not called? Gwabini, if he was called, he was going to assist the state to confirm if uConstable Zungu is telling the truth or not. Ukuthi wasendlini yakhe on a day that Senzo was shot. Gwabini was going to confirm that. The judge was going to say, Gwabini, was Constable Zungu in your house on the 26th of October 2014? Then Zungu would give an answer. That will verify the story by Zungu or debunk the story by Zungu. But now we'll never know because Ubaloyi decided not to call Ugwabeni. The same goes for Longotwala. We were told by Mlungile statement that Longotwala is actually the one that shot Senzo by mistake. It happened when Senzo was trying to separate the fight between Zandi and Longotwala. Unfortunately, the gun went off and Senzo lost his life. That is the statement of Mlungile uthi into ayizwa ngobani leyo nguTumelo Madlala, who phoned him after Senzo had been shot. But Baloyi never called for those witnesses because they do not support the state narrative of the intruder. It is sad. But then we fast forward to today now. We now know that Constable Zungu lied in court. How do we know that? He was exposed by his own father when he spoke to the Daily Sun. So Absalom Zungu is going to be one of those defense witnesses, and I hope that he can tell the court everything that happened between him and Brigadier Kininda. So the defense will definitely ask Absalom Zungu to come before court so he can expose Kininda and his own son. But the key issue for me in this case is that the people that were in the house could not identify the shooter. That clearly shows that there was no intruder in the house. Just think about it. Only Tabang Makeleni saw those guys' facial features like gold tooth and so on. But the people in the house could not tell that. How is it possible that Makeleni could see such things from a distance? Yet people that were in the house could not see that. Clearly, these are fabrications by the state. And then the people that were in the house says the guy that shot Senzo had a will. But Mangena says no, he did not have a will because it was a 9mm. So the state witnesses are contradicting each other. That is very important because now that raises a reasonable doubt in Judge Rata's mind. So I'm hoping that when Judge Rata is making his judgment, he look into that. However, I've said it many times here that I do not believe Rata is a fair judge. I think he has already written his judgment and he's going to find this guy guilty because he's biased. But based on the evidence that I've seen, these guys are innocent. My hope now is that when the case goes on appeal at the Supreme Court of Appeal, then those judges will be fair, unlike Judge Rata. It's very important. So if they go on appeal, I'm sure the gun issue will destroy the state case because it's a huge contradiction. Your witnesses cannot say two different things. Mangeni shologu, then abantu babesendlini basho lokhu. So there should be a reasonable doubt in any judge's mind. But lana we are dealing with Rata, we are born as sisenkingeni. And then still on the gun issue, Kadam Global cell phone record shows that at the same time when Senzo was shot, his cell phone pinged at Johannesburg CBD, meaning that Gadla was not in Foslo. He was in Johannesburg Central. So the Gadla akamdublanga uSenzo because he can't be in two places at once. Never. It will never happen. So the Supreme Court of Appeal, I hope they will realize that Kadamnube is not a triggerman. So I'm not bothered about the outcome of Judge Rata's judgment because I know he's biased anyway. My hope now is that the Supreme Court of Appeal, where they will appeal successfully. So there's a big mess amongst the state witnesses because they just contradicted each other and they made so many mistakes during the taking of those statements and so on because they said so many things that were inconsistent. But the important thing for me is that now the defense will open its case and bring relevant witnesses. Don't be like Baloy. Don't bring anyone else that is not useful for your case. I pray that now Absolute Mzungu is safe wherever he is. Also, Warren of Makubo, I pray that he's also safe because Makubo's house was attacked earlier this year. So it shows that those people that are not supporting the state narrative are not safe for some reason or another. So I pray that Makubo is safe. The same goes for Josh Buthelezi because Buthelezi is also one of those that believed in Docket 275. Remember that Docket 275 was opened by Bani Umakubo. So the case resumes. So it is very important that it defense calls on the relevant witnesses alone so that the state is opposed. And as you just heard at the beginning of this video, you heard Rata making an apology about something that he had said earlier in court, where he said, "Is that how black judges behave?" To me, that did not come as a surprise because earlier on in December, I think it was in December, he attacked Mngomezulu while he was sick. I remember him saying that he saw Mngomezulu in court, whereas Mngomezulu was dying in hospital. So Urat has always had that negative attitude towards the defense, which is why I've just said this judge is biased and he cannot be trusted. And the evidence that was brought before court should, should make it clear that these guys are innocent. And you must also remember that when Mangena collected that gun at Cleveland police station, it was found on an open bag. So I think the judges at the Supreme Court of Appeal will see that it is possible that the gun was tampered with because it was found on an open bag. A barrel of a gun could have been changed. Who knows? So that Kadamnobe's gun could be, I think it was tampered with. So I cannot, I don't think that the court can rely on its evidence because clearly a gun was a compromised exhibit since it was found on an open bag. But the case resumes on the 13th of October 2025. Thank you for watching.